Hey, this is David from the Acme Kitchen Crate. Just got back from Chicago at the Inspired Home Show, one of the big trade shows to see all the kind of latest and greatest for new kitchen cookware, kitchen gadgets, tools, things like that. So I want to kind of go over some of the things I saw that are going to be releases that are either already out now or coming out here in the next 6 months to a year, whatnot, and a few little pieces that I thought information that was worthwhile to share with you guys. So I'll get started with kind of one of the more easy ones. So I'm a fan of the Cole Mason Derwent. This is kind of a, for a simple starter pepper grinder, really nice with having the grind select. Good mechanism. I'm not the biggest fan of the feel of it. The glass and the plastic, the stainless look and everything. It's good, but I do prefer something with more natural materials. And so one of the things that's exciting that they're releasing is they're bringing basically the features and the mechanism of the grind select into the London collection. So they're now going to have this in a wooden version, which I think is really cool. You lose the benefit of being able to see the amount of peppercorns left, but I think the physical feel in the hand is a little nicer of a experience. So that's kind of a very exciting piece for people who like a fan of the Cole & Mason. I think that's going to be a really, really good piece for them. One of the biggest pieces of news that came is USA Pan is finally coming out with an uncoated line of sheet pans. So I, in the kits and stuff, use Nordic Ware, and one of the big reasons is because it's a standard, has no coating, aluminum sheet pan. I'm a big fan of USA Pan, and I use them in most of my other pieces. All of my bakeware is USA Pan other than the sheet pans. But they do either a siliconized or a ceramic nonstick coating on most all of their line. So now to have the ability to get USA Pan in a uncoated series is really, really cool. So this is their kind of initial lineup of everything that they announced here at the show. So as soon as I get some samples of these, I'm going to do some side-by-side testing with the Nordic Ware. So it's very possible some of this might change in the kit. Might not. There is still differences between them. Nordic Ware is an all aluminum core versus USA Pan is a aluminized steel. So there is a difference in construction and the way they bake and cook. The main benefit of aluminized steel is it's more durable from dents and nicks and things like that because it is a heavier pan. The negative is its properties are a little different when it comes to heat spreading through because it has less aluminum in it, and aluminum is a really good conductor. So there is some differences in them, but I've always been a big fan of aluminized steel pans. I've used them a lot, but there's just basically nobody making them that doesn't have a nonstick coating, and that for me, I just don't want a nonstick coating on my sheet pan. So really excited about this. These are supposed to be, I think, about a month out, and but I'll definitely be getting some samples of them and doing some testing once I get them. In the sheet pan world, Hestan and the stainless line are coming out with a eighth sheet. So they've had a quarter sheet and half sheet and a jelly roll, and they're now going to have this size here with an eighth sheet. One of the things I love with these small guys when it comes to the baking grids is using it for dry brining steaks in the refrigerator. So a lot of times I'll salt things, you leave it on the grid so that way it can get air circulation, but I don't want to put a giant sheet pan into the refrigerator. So these little guys are great to just put a couple of steaks on there, sit in there, throw it in the fridge. So big fan of the eighth sheet, and very happy that Hestan's now going to have an eighth sheet size in their stainless. So another new thing from Nordic Ware this year is, I'm a big fan of the cooking grids, and one of the things that you'll find with them is, it's a very fine mesh, and so they tend to become a pain to clean, no matter kind of who makes them. There's just a lot of spots where things intersect and whatnot, and that's why these are almost universally made with a nonstick coating because of just ease of clean, not because you really need it. With the few exceptions, the Hestan cooking grids are actually made of stainless, which I appreciate, but then those ones don't fit in anyone else's pans. So one of the things that Nordic Ware came up with is, instead of doing this out of a grid of wires, what if we actually make it out of a sheet? And so they came up with a new piece that they're showing at the show here called their multi-purpose oven crisping rack. And so basically it's like a sheet of metal that's corrugated with holes in it. And based on their testing, they're saying it'll perform almost equivalent to this, but you now have a nice big flat seamless piece of metal that should be dramatically easier to clean. And it's an uncoated piece, which is really nice. So having an uncoated aluminum cooking grid, you can cook on it with the same kind of surface like you'd be cooking on your sheet pan itself. So that's another new piece from them that I'm excited to get a sample of here and test out and see how I like it. Talking about more minis, I don't have a picture of it here, but I'll post one up on the video here. Le Creuset announced their new Gourman collection. So I've always loved their like little mini coquettes and stuff. These are ceramic. They also do make these in a cast iron, but they now have a full line of minis that they basically come out with in cast iron. So they've got mini skillets, little mini Dutch ovens, just a whole little range of, casseroles and stuff. Definitely a pricey piece. They're very premium, but they look fantastic. And so really a great option for serverware, or if you just want to cook individual portions of things, to be able to use those little minis from the Gourmand collection. So very cool about that. Another really neat piece that I got a sample of. So this is a new company that's not yet in the US. So this is Vitanor. This is a coated borosilicate bakeware. And that's never been done before that I could ever have seen. So most glass bakeware is not coated to begin with, but even just getting borosilicate glass these days in cookware is almost impossible. Everyone's just switched to soda lime. Pyrex isn't Pyrex anymore. And so, borosilicate, great. And then the fact that this is a coated line is really interesting to me. So this is a new product that I got a sample of, so I'm going to do some more testing and stuff on this and report back, but not available in the US yet. We'll see later this year, but for people who like glass bakeware, I think this could be a real game changer. When it comes to cookware, I've been a big fan of Hestan. And one of the big reasons is, I got drawn to it because of Thomas Keller. So he, had a lot of influence on the brand and how they do different designs and things like that. And, some of my favorite cookware that I've used in the past was Thomas Keller collection from All-Clad. So when he moved over to Hestan, I knew it was something I had to look at and take seriously. So fortunately, he was actually at the show this year, and so I got to be able to meet him a little bit, and he did some interviews and stuff talking about him in the industry, as well as why he partnered with Hestan and some of the stuff that he's brought to that. So I'm going to include some little clips here after this of him at the show that I think you'll find interesting, and hopefully it'll help kind of give you a little more insight as to how Hestan became part of the collection to begin with. Thank you, and take a look after this.
And this collaboration, and where do these values align?
Well, it's very simple, and I don't know how many of you know this, but I was with all-clad for my entire career, over 30 years. Pamela knows this; she was with all-clad as well. That's where we met. All-clad was significant for me in the quality of cookware that they produce, the relationship that I had with them. I mean, the historical element, kind of growing up with all-clad. I mean, if you wanted the best, you went to all-clad. And I was a strong supporter of all-clad for a long time, as well as you, right? I mean, that was the top, right, in America, until Hestan came along, until Stanley came along. And Stanley, we met at the restaurant, as he said, 25 years ago. We became friends. We golfed together. He supported some of our charities. We've helped him. He's helped us, and he encouraged me countless times to try his new cookware. And I was apprehensive. I designed the Thomas Keller line for all-clad, right? And I was really proud of that. So now we had not just my association with all-clad from historical, but I was now involved in their design. A gentleman named Frank Brady, who Pam knows very well, and Stanley knows, brought me an all-clad piece of cookware, a sauce pot, and said, "What would you do with the sauce pot?" And it was straight-sided. I said, "Well, you need to flare the edges." And so, you see all-clad flared edges now. That's because the question was asked, and I said, "It's obvious to me this is what you need to do," and they did that. So I was really proud of my relationship with all-clad. Finally, I said this. I agreed to. Try, not experiment, but actually use Stanley's cookware in the French Laundry. And the workhorse of the French laundry in cookware is the sauté pan, something that you understand is called a skillet. Right, but sauté pan, and the 10-inch sauté pan is the most used, right? This one right here. And so I said, okay, we'll try it. He sent me the sufficient amount to exchange every all-clad sauté pan, both the 8-inch, 10-inch, and the 12-inch, in our kitchen in French laundry. And I just gave it to the young chefs, the chef de parties, and let them have at it, right? We wanted to see how it responded, how it reacted, the quality of the experience with it, how our porters cleaned it, how it came back, all these different things. Just it became part of the restaurant for 6 months, and after 6 months, I went to them and said, "Okay, so what do you think?" And it's better. In every way, it's better. Better conductivity, more even heat, recuperation of temperature much faster. Just the cooking surface itself is an inch bigger, right? Which allows a young chef working to be able to cook more efficiently in this size.
But one of the things you came to us about was, changing the handle design, and you had real thought about that in terms of the cleanliness and your vision of what you wanted. I'll never forget that meeting because Thomas had a vision and he shared it with Stanley, and Stanley, if you don't know, is a mechanical engineer, so it's perfect marriage to have these two talking. And Stanley said, "But Thomas, what you're asking for is really impossible. It can't be done due to the tolerances." And Thomas sat there quietly and said, "But I want it." And Stanley said, "But we can't do it." And our factory manager said, "We'll be throwing out 99 of 100 handles. We just can't do it." But Thomas said, "No, I really want this." And so Stanley was relentless in finding the way to achieve that seamless handle design. But I'd love to hear more about what you were looking for and what that solved for.
Yeah, well, I've heard engineers say they can't do something before. If you push them enough, I mean, just the nature of an engineer. Number one, they're curious anyway. They're always searching for that next level of accomplishment in what they're designing and what they're engineering. And Stanley's no different, and he's a brilliant engineer, and something I'm grateful for in our partnership in developing this handle. Number one, you have this reveal here, which one makes it lighter, but also makes it cooler, right? Because there's a cooling element, so it doesn't transfer heat as much, which is very important for the home cook. Not so much important for chefs, because we never pick something up unless we have a kitchen towel in our hand. But it is important for the way its shape is, and the ergonomic design of it is such an important part, even for us in our restaurants, but even more so for the home cook. But that's been part of, and then this little hook here, which keeps your fingers away from the edge, which is also really important. The way that functionality that you don't even realize, right? You don't realize these accomplishments in the design and engineering of this handle.
Thank you.
Stanley, do you want to add anything to that?
About the challenge.
Can I just say that it was impossible, really. I talked to our factory folks, engineers.
Yeah.
So then in the end, I know the impossible just costs more money. The crazy thing is we sell it at the same price. I don't know how we do that.
But you also love a challenge, and you did it. You made it happen, which is great.
It's made in Italy.
Yes, and everything is made in Italy. And I think, all of these things are really key differentiators for the Hestan brand, that we don't just settle, we don't rest, we don't find a third-party factory, say, here's a handle, just make us some clad cookware. Every detail is well thought out to perform to those highest level standards and to meet new innovations. The world of cookware and culinary continues to evolve, and we need to also.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say, there may be cheaper cookware out there, but there's nothing better than this. I say that in all honesty. I would say that at any moment. And I know young people who are just starting out, with their household, with or their marriage. They don't have a lot of money. One thing I always recommend, I said, just buy one piece, right, and then build from that. You can work around with less expensive cookware if you need to. But if you want a piece of cookware that's going to last your entire life, if you take care of it, this is it. I mean, this is it. This will never deteriorate at all. As long as you take care of the Hestan cookware, you'll have it for the rest of your life. So the investment that you're making, right, and you depreciate that over 40 years is relatively small. So, you know, there's no better cookware. It does cost what it costs because that's what it costs.
And I like the butter.
Yeah, like you know, and supporting supporting your family, right, with the best possible cookware. If you cook at home, this is the way to go.
So I hope you enjoyed those clips of Thomas Keller over from the Inspired Home Show. So appreciate you watching the video. Come take a look at some of my other videos on other cookware reviews and some new cooking videos that we're doing right over here.